Hi there. I'm with Nicola and Simon Chinnery, Nicola Glinwood from Life Stage Development. And today we're going to have a talk and discuss and explore the idea of a life intention. And this is kind of really key to, it's key to the power in aging, because the power really comes from knowing what it is that we want deep down. And it's quite a big subject. So we're going to be exploring this today. So Simon, have you any thoughts about a life intention? Where are you with a life intention?
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting because I read the book a long time ago, and I went, yeah, right, there's this intention thing, and then promptly kind of ignored it, and I think that was because in my mind, in the fuzzy part of my mind, I thought, yeah, I've got this intention. I'm sure it's there, and then this little quiet voice would go, well, what is it, Simon? What is it? And I couldn't quite ever actually articulate it. And then because I couldn't articulate it, I kind of pretended I'd just ignore it for a while and nod sagely whenever you talked about intention. So that's me just being honest, really, about that. And I suppose more recently, I've just kind of thought, come on, Simon, this is ridiculous. Get focused on this, because it is important. I absolutely agree. I mean, for me, why it's important is because I think there was a rebellion in me. It's something about, I don't need to be boxed in by a purpose or an intention or whatever else. I'll do what I want. So there was a little bit of a kind of, rebel in me, I think. But also behind that was probably a little bit of, fuzziness about really what my intention was, when I really kind of look at it and boil it down. What is it, and why is that important? Because otherwise, I think that fuzziness for me would allow me lots of get outs and lots of procrastination and lots of kind of half doing things and then wandering off to the next thing, and suddenly my life would be over, and so I kind of thought, yeah, that's probably sitting on the fence a little bit. I don't know, I still haven't quite nailed what it is, but I do recognize it's important and it's helpful for me.
Thanks, Simon. Nicola, where are you at?
I do have a life intention now. It's not the one I started with. I think I mentioned to you before, when I first decided this was a good idea to have a life intention, I'd listened to yours and I thought, actually, yes, I'd quite like that as well in my life. So that became my life intention. But the thing was, I kept forgetting what it was. So every time I tried to think about it, what was that blooming life intention? I'd have to go look through your emails or go on, some WhatsApp group to try and find out what your life intention was, i.e. my life intention. So after doing this for a while, because I'm a slow learner, I realized that it wasn't my life intention. And so then I had to find what mine was. So I did find what mine was. I looked at what was causing me suffering, like on a daily basis. And I don't mean what's out there in the world, like, the wars and everything that we've got going on at the moment. I looked at what was causing me suffering. What was I doing to cause myself suffering? And I mean, I can talk a bit more about this later, but I very, very quickly came to an idea of what that was and how I could form that into a life intention. So I haven't forgotten it once. So I've got it into a phrase, and actually it really sustains me. Like every single day, it's coming into my mind.
Wow.
Brilliant.
Okay, so we better just clarify what a life intention is. What do we mean by life intention?
Good idea.
And
Yes. Well, but I kind of touched on it in saying a purpose or in life intention, and I'm guessing that quite a lot of people, including me, actually muddle that up sometimes. So, Adam, why don't you tell us what your definition from a purpose is, and why that is different from an intention?
yeah, I think purpose really comes, I think intention is deeper, and I think purpose can come out of intention. So as we go through this, you know, one of the criteria, got some possible criteria for creating a life intention, but one of them is kind of longevity and resilience, so that no matter what your situation, you know, whether you're on your deathbed, whether you've just been diagnosed with something awful, whether you have just received some fantastic news, whatever it is, whether you're, this life intention will serve you in any kind of circumstance. That seems key to it. And that other things can spread from the life intention. It's really the core. And I think the reason that I really wanted to create a life intention myself was I felt a lack of accountability. And I felt like I really wanted to take responsibility for my life as I grow older, you know. So it's a life intention is really your soul's deepest desire, I think. I think it's how you really want to be, no matter what the circumstances are. And I guess we'll go into this a bit deeper. But you know, before we do, you know, what are the benefits? How is this just a self-discipline, or are there real strong big benefits to this?
There are definite benefits. I think when we look, there are things that worked for us when we were younger that may not be working for us now. You know, habits that we've had for years. And I can speak personally, you know, that they just don't end up working for me now. And so having this life intention can just give you a lot more clarity as to what's best for you now. I kind of see it like a personal map or a guide, like, you know, in a dark room, kind of helps you to see clearly in a dark room. And it's very personal. It's like a personal map.
Yeah, I definitely get that sense of purposefulness, personal, you know, personal quality. That I really like what you said, Nicola, about, you know, I kind of went through this thing of collecting a whole load of words and then trying to stick them together and thinking, well, these are all really important and their values, and, you know, and it just didn't stick. So I think that it's got to move beyond that kind of nice words. That's not the right phrase, but something about, I found myself kind of, you know, being a bit eclectic and picking up all these sort of different things and thinking, well, they're all important, but actually they weren't personal. So when you said about you couldn't remember them because that actually wasn't your intention, I completely agree with that. That's it has to be really personal, and as you said, Adam, it's something that has longevity to it, so that, you know, whatever the situation, I could recall my life intention. Yeah. I've got a question actually around that. I mean, that sense of, you mentioned accountability. What can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, you know, situations crop up in my life where I'm a bit confused, I can get a bit lost, I can get frightened, anxious. And there's such a vast array of information out there, you know, affirmations, all sorts of gurus, and, you know, people that I can go and follow. And I really felt that I needed to find it within myself and not on the internet, not external, to find something that I could be accountable for myself. So I can see where I fall over. I can see, you know, where I'm going wrong. That's really useful. It doesn't stop me going wrong.
Yeah.
I still mess up.
Yeah.
But I can see where I'm messing up, and I can see where I want to be. So
I think that's the beauty of it. That's why it's so personal, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah.
Because we're all going to mess up in different ways, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Is there something, Adam, about that? And I'm asking this because I'm still trying to work this out in my head. But accountability, I get that in terms of, you know, it's sort of checking with yourself. How am I actually? Am I in my integrity, or am I adrift? You know, and if I am, do I want to do something about that? But I suppose, is there something about a sort of public side of that? Is there a kind of witnessing of somebody's intention?
well, not for me, and not at the moment. This
Mm.
could be something that we could work towards, a group where we did hold accountable, you know, each other to account, if we wanted to be held account. But I mean, I don't feel it's, at the moment, that's early days for me. I mean, I've been working with this for 2 or 3 years, and I'm still in awe of how powerful it's been for me in terms of transformation. And what it's, you know, what it's given me, I think, is a lot of self-confidence. And, you know, having a North Star is really useful. I feel a lot less intimidated by people. I feel this is me. This is, I've set this for my life. I've got, may have, you know, a few years, I might have a decade, 2 decades, but this is me. This is me now. This is my bottom line. And it has given me a real confidence to just do things that I really want to do, that I didn't have before. You know, I was thinking, oh, should I do this or should I do that? And, or, you know, but I've found somehow with the words that I've chosen, I've just found that I have less of that fogginess, you know, and I know I have limited time. So, you know, I want to get to the point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that there should be an accountability group, because it does change it, because you know, the first intention you pick may not be the one that you end up with. You kind of need to try it on to see if it fits.
Right.
It's a personal thing. I think, you know, support is one thing and accountability is something different. Accountability could turn it into some kind of another tick box, another chore. It's like another burden to try and achieve this kind of perfection that we're all told, you know, we need to be heading for.
Yeah.
And it takes the beauty and the away from it, I think, the simplicity away from it.
Yeah, I like the idea of support. I think that that's sort of certainly bearing witness in a supportive environment. If somebody wanted to talk about how their intention is working out or not, and maybe, as you said, Nicola, kind of how that might be adapting or evolving as time goes by. You know,
Yeah.
So I guess anybody that happens to be listening to this may wonder, well, what is a life intention? What are the rules? Or, you know, are there rules? And, you know, where do you start? And, well, of course, there aren't any rules. It is it is really about taking responsibility for yourself by making a statement. It could be 1 or 2 sentences that work for you. What are these sentences? So imagine that you couldn't remember very much. And this happens to a lot of older people. They start to lose things. What would you like more than anything else to remember when you're old? If there was one thing that would really help you. And so what I've done, sorry?
My bank account.
Access to it.
Yeah, I
have a living fear of going to the pin machine and then going, nope.
Yes, exactly.
Complete blank.
Yeah. And I've no money then, and I'm homeless.
Yeah, but then you'd need to remember your computer password. You need to remember a lot of other things probably as well. So in terms of criteria, I think a life intention has to be for yourself. I think it has to be something that you really want. And we work in life stages, with the idea of dependency, independency, and interdependency. And with interdependency, there is a sense that we're not separate. So a life intention, I think, really works better if your intention is for yourself and for other people. And I think it needs to be transformative. Otherwise, I don't think you'd really have the energy, to go through this process, because we'll see it's not a very simple journey. I think it has to be transformative. And, my experience, I would say it has been transformative. And I think it needs to be resilient, as we said, so that it can happen in any situation, whether I'm up with my, 97-year-old father, or whether I'm, with my friends, or whatever situation, it needs to have a relevance, I think.
I'll just add something to that, Adam.
Go on.
I think it's helpful to look at it for yourself first, because I think, rather than other people initially, because I think once you change, everything around you changes, and that certainly happened as a kind of byproduct of my life intention. Everyone else will benefit from that because I've changed.
Well, then it is for other people,
Yes.
I mean, with that awareness, it is for other people.
Yeah, it is from other people. It seeps through, and everything in your life, looks different. When you change, everything changes.
Absolutely. So nicely put. And all of these things, transformative, self, others, I mean, they're just ideas of where to start, really. They're not definitive, but I think what is absolutely essential is that you memorize your life intention absolutely thoroughly, so that you can it's on the tip of your tongue at any time. Because, situations can, it's just walk up the road, I can be waiting for the bus, and I can be impatient for the bus. I'm going somewhere. And I think, oh, where's the bus? Another 5 minutes or whatever. And I can just think, my life intention, take a couple of breaths. My intention is to be courageous. Oh, it changes the whole landscape. It's quite simple, really.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, it's some sort of deeper frame of reference that takes me out of the, the drama of the ridiculous, which is 24/7 out there, and kind of grounds me, I suppose, to a, well, it's your point about what's the most important thing. If I couldn't remember anything apart from my bank account, what would that be? And I think for me it would be, if I especially was trying to remember, my question might well be, why am I here? What on earth's going on? You know, I mean, not what on earth's going on as in trying to work out the particular drama in front of me or that I'm caught up in, but more about what is my reference? What is my kind of soul's purpose, exchange, idea? And that resonance probably would be really important, because it would ground me, actually, I think. The other thing I was just wondering about was when you were talking about interdependency, is that it still feels like that's a tough bridge to cross over between independent and all the kind of behaviors, as you were saying, Nicola, you know, from younger me, and being able to kind of say, look, I'm crossing this bridge now. You know, thank you, you've served me, but I don't need you now, because actually I'm taking my place amongst, you know, everything and everybody else. And it feels like the intention is something that could really help me over the bridge.
Yeah. And also that kind of brings up the idea, I mean, we call it life stage, but life stage is really kind of aimed at people who have moved out of the independent stage, or are still in the independent stage, but want to expand their life. They're seeing the narrowness of independence, you know, as they go, you know, as they get older, and they can see possibly that their sense of purpose has disappeared or has changed so much, or their sense of purpose isn't really fulfilling them. You know, maybe it's keeping them safe and comfortable and secure, but it's not really doing anything else for their life. It's not expanding their life, it's narrowing their life, and sort of, and I think it's I think this idea of independence, of seeing the interconnectedness of us, is a really healthy way to age, to get older, and to, you know, face some of the challenges that are inevitable. So so how do we start with a life intention?
Well, shall I share mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great, thanks, Nicola.
So my life intention is to eat more slowly. Okay, now, but it's not just to eat more slowly. So when I started looking at what was causing me suffering, I realized that I was just rushing around the place. I was rushing through my life. Like I've fallen down my own stairs 3 times in the last 6 months. I've burnt my hand on the oven 6 times. I'm jumping off the loo before I've even finished. I'm like, tick, tick, tick. I'm just running through everything so fast. And I realized I need to slow down. I need to be present. I need to feel my grief. And I just need to slow down. So I kind of wanted to find a phrase that would encompass all of that. Also, I do need to eat more slowly. I actually wolf all my meals down. I'm the first person to finish always. So I came up with this phrase that was really memorable to me, and that is to eat more slowly. And so when that pops into my head, and I find whatever I'm doing, when I find myself rushing, every time now that phrase comes into my head, and I kind of slow down. And to be honest, it doesn't have an effect every single time. Probably 50% of the time, it will slow me down. At the moment, probably 50% of the time, I can't. I'm just rushing. but I'm aiming to get that from 50, 60, 70. I'm aiming to get the percentage up. I'm feeling the benefits of it. Sometimes it just works so beautifully. It just stops me in my tracks. And I tell myself, hey, you're okay. And I actually feel okay in that moment when I'm present, and I tell myself I'm okay. So that's, to eat more slowly. And that's what mine is.
And what would you like to get from eating more slowly?
To be able to be present a lot more, and to stop this, my mind, my brain, just, there's a lot of fear inside of me. And when I'm present, I notice the fear isn't really there. I can just sit in that moment. I realize I'm being driven by fear. That's why I'm rushing through my life. It's fear-based. I have so much fear inside of me that I haven't really acknowledged. And part of this with my new intention is I need to sit down with that. I need to look at that. I need to do the work on that, the work that I've been running away from. So this life intention means so much to me. And I'm looking forward to having that peace. And as a byproduct of this, I'm actually a much nicer person to live with. So my family are benefiting. So this is where the bit comes in, find it for yourself first and others will benefit. So my family will benefit because I'm not like, eat faster, do that quicker, I'm a much nicer person to live with.
Really interesting you say behind that is fear that's driving you forward, and your whole image of the conveyor belt and the conveyor belt of life. And well, thank you for your honesty, and I think for sharing that. It's very powerful, really powerful.
Wonderful. I was just reflecting when you're talking about becoming more present, and the benefit to anybody else, including me, of being in your presence would be there's more of you available. There's more. You are more present, rather than I'm having a conversation with half of you and the other half's out the room, busy on the next thing.
Definitely. So everyone around me will benefit, because I'm not thinking, okay, can you go now because I need to hoover, or can you go now because I need to get back to work. I'm able now, to kind of sit there, and it's okay just to let everything else go, just relax in that moment. And it's the big thing of saying to myself, hey girl, you're going to be okay. I do actually feel it. I can feel the warmth in that.
And it's yours. It's very personal, isn't it?
It feels very personal.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
So but it took some work, didn't it? I mean,
yes,
you had to open
on yours first.
You had to open yourself up to an exploration. And I'm sure that brings up a lot of stuff. It's not just choose 5 words out of a book that you really like, or going through everybody else's affirmations on the web or something like that.
Definitely not, because we see all these glossy memes, with all these words, and they don't really reflect people's lives, and that's why they're not memorable.
So one of the things that finding this seed, so it's about planting a seed in your life, so this intention that you have, I think, has the potential, and you may add to it or you may not, but it has the potential to bring wonderful fruit, flowers and fruit into your life. I really believe that. You've planted a seed. So it is finding this seed. And I think that's a difficult thing. And I liked, Nicola, that it felt there is an element of trial and error. And I was talking to Eleni yesterday, who is trying to create a life intention for herself, or the other day. And she said She said it's like a scientific experiment for her. It's trial and error. I thought, you know, people will go about in different ways. Some people might find an easy route and some people might take them a couple of months. I'd almost say the longer it takes you, the better it is somehow. The more kind of searching, the more you dig, then the better. So trial and error, I think, is really important. But then to explore the words deeply. So you might find some words in your intention that you might try this word out, because words can have multiple meanings, obviously. So it's kind of, what does it mean to you on a deep level? Because you don't want to be taking something into later life that really you haven't fully explored. You know, it's an ongoing process, I think. And one of the good starting points, which I think, Nicola, you kind of highlighted, and it certainly worked for me, is what's your weakness? Do you want to go into later life with this weakness? And, you know, for me, it's a shadow side that, you know, and I don't want to go into late life with these kind of the shadows that actually are really holding me back. I want to have a look at them and see if there's a possible transformation there. So my, you know, my weaknesses were really foolishness and lack of courage. You know, being afraid. Afraid of small things, physical, big things, metaphysical. You know, I'm afraid. I got a lot of fear in my life. I suspect lots of other people have as well at a certain age. But so I wanted courage and wisdom. Those were my two. That's my bottom line. You know, that's what I'm really working with. And actually, it brings up another point. Do we need to share our life intention? And I think that's completely a personal decision.
Yeah, definitely.
So Nicola, you know, and I think I'm very happy to share mine. And I'm very happy for anybody to take my life intention, try it out and say, it doesn't work for me. I don't like that word. I don't like that word. And it may be a starting point. I don't know. You know.
Still can't remember your life intention, Adam.
What?
I still can't remember your life intention.
Can't you?
So, for some reason, this is why it's not my life intention.
Yeah.
This is how, you know, but I know it's not for me.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. So, how about you? How about you, Simon?
Well, yeah, as I said at the beginning, it's been quite a journey of sort of finding bits of me that don't want to play it, and then asking why, and you know what's important, and what the resistance is, and I think probably, you know, what was touched on earlier about this being a kind of evolving process, and that these things might change. That's helpful, but I'm also aware that for me that could be another get out. Oh well, I'll put something down and then, you know, I'll probably change it in a few months, or you know, and so yeah. But anyway, that aside, I did write down the kind of things that were most important. I haven't memorized it yet, partly because I'm not too sure. But I'm very happy to share that. It's a kind of work in progress at the moment. And it is to nurture connection and community with a courageous heart, loving kindness, and joyful creativity.
Wow.
To nurture connection and community with a courageous heart, loving kindness, and joyful creativity.
Do you think, Simon, sorry, do you think memorizing it will give it some extra power, or?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will, because if a bit to Nicola's point, if I can't remember it, all the words get jumbled. and I don't have a good memory. I write poetry, and I'm always in awe of these people that stand up and recite poetry, especially theirs, or rappers that are able to just, you know, do this incredible play of words endlessly, it seems. But that's that aside. Also, I think it is something really quite important, and actually, I don't mind kind of sharing that, you know, I'm getting there, or I might even think that's it, I've nailed it. Right now, this morning, I thought, oh, that's got some good bones. I mean, just to give you a little bit of breakdown in that, without going into it in too much detail, what I felt, I really like the word nurture, and this sense of, because originally I wanted to create connection and community, and you know, I realized as I've got older that connection with other humans, with life, with, you know, Gaia, with the energies of life is just so vital to me. Because when I think, how am I when I am feeling disconnected? It's bad, you know. It's joyless, it's painful, it's all about me. So the interconnectedness bit goes right out the window, and I imagine myself on the outside of something rather than, you know, in the middle of it all. But nurturing, because that a bit like the gardener, you know, the gardener tending the seeds, this thing about, you know, it's not an automatic given that every seed that's planted will come up, you know, that or that the slugs don't get the young shoots or whatever. So nurturing and a sense of persistence, of kind of patience there. And then for me, your point about courage, I mean, I'd agree with that. I think there's quite a lot of fear based in me, a kind of catastrophizing, what happens, oh my God, you know. And so I think there is a fear of letting go, actually, you know. And so I definitely need courage. And for me, courage definitely comes from my heart, not my head. So, you know, I might be stating the obvious, but a bit like the Yellow Brick Road, the courageous heart of the lion. Loving kindness, because I realized that quite a lot, well, I've become very aware that, you know, for me, I make a lot of assumptions about what's going on in the world, how other people are, who they are, what I like, don't like. And I don't know, you know, I really don't. And actually, if I adopt a sense of loving kindness towards myself and others, a curiosity, that really helps, because it stops me jumping to conclusions, which almost inevitably wrong. And I bunged a bit in about creativity, because I actually think that is a wellspring for me. You know, creativity is really important. And I did even play with the word playfulness, playful creativity, but there's something about responding to situations creatively. And I do recognize that's a big part of me. Now, so have I captured all the words that I wanted to put in there? Have I put too many in there? Does it really work? Do all those elements sit together? Will I be able to memorize it? Don't know. I'll report back, Captain Kirk, in another series.
That's what it's all about, isn't it, Simon? It's seeing what works for you.
Yeah.
And it has to be you. Like, I'm so tempted to kind of to get in there and say, oh, Simon, what about this or that? But you know, that's not what it's about. It's about you discovering it for yourself. Isn't it? Otherwise, it's not going to mean anything.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
And I really like this point that both of you sort of highlighted, that it's the kind of the essence of it. It's really distilled to kind of what's important. You point, Adam, about like if I couldn't remember anything else, well, it would be good to remember. You know, what is it that I'm here to do? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose, again, this is just personally for me, but life stage for me is definitely about a kind of reciprocal, but giving first rather than the taking, which has been so much of my life, you know, transactional, sort of corporate, whiz bang, you know, get him, beat her, you know, forget all that nonsense. You know, that doesn't work, you know, in this stage of life for me. It's about how can I support, nurture, give, not to the detriment of myself, but to a nurturing within, and something about that kind of being in some kind of service. That might be a bit mixed words for some people, but something about looking beyond myself, getting over myself and getting out there and taking action.
Yeah, losing what no longer serves you, as you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we just got a few minutes left. I mean, one thing we haven't mentioned is the challenges of old age leading to mortality. And I think this can be right at the root of a life intention. Because when we get to a certain age, we know it, not an intellectual knowing, we kind of embody a knowing that, its time is limited, and I think that gives a really good impetus to the idea of, what do I really want now? I messed around doing that and that and that and that, and it's all been great and fun, but actually I'm heading this way. Really, what words could really, really serve me? And I think they're often words that I used to think that somebody asked me what I want. Oh, I want world peace, but actually it just seems completely meaningless in one way. Yes, I do want world peace. It is, of course, I'd love that. But it's really, what's my responsibility in world peace? How am I going to bring it about? And that is by having clarity. So just finally then, one last question. And I think, Simon, you've already touched on this, but what are the obstacles? What are the obstacles to creating and living with a life intention? I mean, living with it. What are the obstacles?
Ourselves will be the main obstacle. Are we ready for this? Are we ready to look at what we may want to change? Sometimes it can be easier, same old. So, that could be an obstacle. Could be finding a life intention, and maybe it's not the right one, and so kind of discarding it and thinking, okay, that hasn't worked. And it could be just because it wasn't the right one.
I think there's something for me about as I get older, on the one hand, there will be issues, whatever they are, health, physical, mental, spiritual, there will be stuff, the sickness, old age, and death. And then on the other hand, there is the 1,000,001 distractions in this life, things that just pull my attention. And if I am not practicing, Nicola's wonderful active presence pretty much daily, as much as I can, I'm going to be whipsawed all over the place. And suddenly I'm even older. And suddenly, oh, that's it. Your time is up. And I don't want to be in that negotiation, denial at that point. Again, wait, but the thing is, I was going to get around to that. I haven't quite. Can I have another year, please? No, time is up. And and I mean, that isn't to say it's all going to be perfect and the intention will carry me right the way through. But I believe it's a fundamental kind of, it's a true north. It is that something of like, come on, if everything else fails, which it will, losses. I mean, Nicola, you touched on grief, and I think that's a very important part of acknowledging what's going on. Just letting go of the stuff that, all these tangles of the past distractions and things. But you know, for me, an act of simplification every day is to bring myself into the present, and then, you know, if that is bringing me back to the intention, then I'm more likely to not be hitting that obstacle and falling down, or losing a day, a week, a month.
Yeah, that's beautifully put, Simon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Reminds me of this quote. I can't remember who said it now, but how can I live today with all of yesterday inside of me? I just feel that so deeply, and my life intention helps me live today in this moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, thank you, Nicola. Thank you for sharing, and Simon. Really, kind of, it's an initial exploration, and I hope we can gather some people around us to really take this further and explore, because the potential, I just have to say that the benefits in my life from having a life intention have been completely unpredictable and wonderful. You know, my life, I've got loads of problems in my life every day, of course, and challenges, but I know I've got another dimension to my life now, which is I'm working with this intention. And so I'm really hoping that we can work with other people to really bring something beautiful to fruition in community. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. It's a great conversation.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
Thank you.